What if you could build a whole slide deck just by describing how you want it to look, without any design skills at all? Because I made these two decks just by using AI, and they still look like I paid a top-tier designer to make them. In this video, I'll walk you through the entire process of building one with you, from coming up with ideas to a fully finished deck. So at the end, you will know exactly how to do it yourself by just talking to AI. We start with the one thing that decides whether the whole deck ends up looking consistent, and we do it before making a single slide. Normally, this is where you'd open some design tool and start dragging boxes and colors around until it looks decent. I don't do any of that. And to show you this works on basically any style, I'm going to run the whole process twice on two completely different decks. The first one is for a design studio called Remain, so it's dark and mysterious and built around big photos. The second is for a soda brand called Pop, which is bright and colorful and full of charts. It's the same steps for both, but the results look completely different, and we're starting with Remain. At the beginning of the process, I'll use Claude in both, because it's the best tool for design thinking right now. So I'll move to my browser, search for Claude AI, and sign up with my email or my Google account on the main page. Then I'll describe the deck I want, so the topic, the vibe, and the kind of look I'm going for. And I'll ask it for a design system, which is really just the colors, the fonts, and any rules I should lock in before I make a single image. It hands back the whole thing, a base color, a text color, and one accent color it says to use only once per slide. And it even picks the fonts, a big serif for the headlines, and a clean simple one for the body. The reason I lock all of this in first is that every image I'll make later gets checked against this one answer. So the whole deck can't end up looking like 3 different decks by the time I'm done. But the colors aren't even the important part here. What actually matters are the 2 rules that come with it, and they'll decide whether the slides look clean. The first rule is that no text, numbers, or charts are ever generated within the images themselves. All of that goes on top afterwards as its own layer. The second rule is that nothing in the images carries any branding, so I won't put any signs, logos, or lettering on any surface. Text that gets generated onto a real surface in a photo always comes out warped, and there's no fixing it without redoing the entire image. So it's just easier to keep all of it out from the start. So if you're building your own deck, these are the 2 rules I'd tell you not to skip, because locking them in now saves you from redoing everything later. And that's the whole look of the deck decided in one chat, before I've made a single image or opened a design tool. But just having those colors written down won't keep 15 separate images looking like they belong together. But there's one small trick that makes all of your images actually match. Still in that same Claude chat, I'll ask it to write me one short paragraph. It describes the lighting, the materials, and the colors we already locked in, plus those 2 rules from before. Then I'll paste that same paragraph onto the end of every image prompt I write from here on. So I'll keep the actual scene first, and let that paragraph work as the style layered over the top. Since every image is getting the same instructions about the light, the color, and the style, they all come out looking like the same person shot them, even though the scene is different every time. Without it, 15 prompts written in one sitting stop lining up with each other, and you end up with 15 images that clearly don't belong in the same deck. That handles the matching, but there's a second thing every prompt needs, because none of the text is actually baked into the images. Every slide has to leave a clear space for the words and the charts to sit on top later. So I'm composing each frame around text that doesn't exist yet. There are 4 things I'll do in every prompt to make that work. First, I'll name the empty side. So I'll just write something like, leave generous space on the left, because if you don't tell the model where the gap goes, it just centers everything and leaves you nowhere to put a headline. Then I'll push the subject off to the opposite side into the part of the frame the words won't cover. I'll also make that space actually mean something instead of a flat blank area. So I'll ask for soft light, a shadow, or a wall in gentle focus because an empty patch looks like a mistake, while a softly lit one looks intentional. And I'll keep anything important in the middle 2/3 of the frame because phones and the PDF export both crop the edges, so whatever's near the border gets cut off. So now I got each one set up the way I actually wanted. But none of that is certain until the first image comes out, and that one tells you right away whether the whole system works. So now we're at the highest stakes part, where a weak prompt either gets you a usable slide or burns your credits before the deck is done. Back in Claude, I'll ask it one more time to write me the actual scene for every slide, except that before before and after one, since that slide needs the same room twice. Just the scene, the lighting, and the camera angle. And it automatically sticks that same style paragraph onto the end of each one. In one go, I've got every prompt I need for the rest of the deck. Now, I'll need somewhere to make these images, and I'll use Higgsfield for that. The reason I'll use Higgsfield instead of a bunch of separate tools is that everything I need for the whole deck is in one place. The image model, the video model, and the thing that actually builds the deck at the end. So I'm never jumping between 5 different apps or paying for all of them on their own. The link to it is in the description if you want to follow along. Once I'm inside, I'll click Image Up in the top menu and pick GPT Image 2 because it gives me proper photoreal 4K images. Then I'll switch the aspect ratio over to 16:9 so it's shaped like a slide, keep the quality on high, and turn the resolution up to 4K. And for me, this one looks like someone just took a picture of some abandoned building from the inside. These scratched walls and the light slightly flooding the room make it look like a real photo. And a quick thing before I keep going, every one of these prompts is down in the description, so you can just copy the whole block, paste it straight into Higgsfield, and generate without adding anything yourself. Then I'll do the same thing for every other slide in the deck. One prompt at a time, pasting each one in with that style paragraph on the end and generating it. And because every one of them is carrying that identical style paragraph, they all come out looking like the same studio shot them on the same day, even though every slide is a totally different room. There's just one slide that needs a different approach though, the third one, because it's a before and after image that needs the same room shown twice. First, I'll generate the before version, the rundown derelict room, just like I did with every other background. Then, instead of writing a new prompt for the after version, I'll click the plus button at the bottom left of the prompt bar and attach that first image as a reference. And in the prompt, I'll tell it to keep everything exactly where it is. The same windows, the same walls, the same camera angle and lighting, and only change the room from rundown to fully restored. So for me, the effect is pretty surprising because if I hadn't just transformed it myself, I wouldn't believe what the room looked like before. The reason I do it this way is that if you describe the restored room from scratch, the model builds you a completely different room, different windows, different layout, and the two slides won't line up at all. Giving it that first image to work from locks the whole structure in place, so the only thing that changes between them is the actual restoration. So now every background in the deck is done, all matching, including that before and after pair lined up so closely you can flip straight from one to the other. But flipping between two images still isn't the same as watching it actually happen. So now let's actually make that whole room transform from wrecked to restored right in front of you. I'll click Video Up in the top menu and pick Seedance 2.0. The video itself isn't made from a text prompt describing video, it's built from those two images. I'll pin the before image as the very first frame of the video and the after image as the last frame. This matters because the video is locked to start and end on those exact two images that I already approved. The only thing my prompt has to describe is what happens in between, the room gradually transforming from wrecked to fully restored. I'll keep it to 5 seconds, set the resolution to 1080p, keep the camera in one place, write that little transformation prompt, and generate. So overall, the whole wall transformation looks really smooth, even down to the way the sofa appears, so I'll keep it like that. And now I've got a 5-second video that opens on the wrecked room and ends on the fully restored one, ready to go straight onto that slide. But before I hand all of this over to the thing that actually builds the deck, there's a quick check I'll run to make sure nothing breaks. And this is where a folder of images turns into an actual working slide deck. So I'll go back to the main page in Higgsfield and click Supercomputer right in the middle of the top menu. This opens up an AI agent built into Higgsfield that can actually code and build things. I'll hit the plus button to attach all 16 of my files, every image plus the video, and paste in one single prompt. The most important line in that prompt is where I'll tell it not to generate anything because all my media is already final. Its only job is to code the deck and put it online. Everything else is just the plan, the colors and fonts from earlier, how the slides should move, what goes on each one, and those same rules about keeping text out of of the images and every number in one place so I can edit it later. Then I'll let it run. And everything stays consistent and looking clean across the whole deck. The room transformation slide shows the real before and after contrast even more clearly now. And it builds the whole thing right there. A live preview of the finished deck shows up with its own link and buttons to open or publish it. The slides move side to side with the arrow keys or the scroll wheel one at a time. The section name stays in the corner, and a row of dots along the bottom shows you where you are. It also turns all my numbers into real charts. Bar, Gantt, donut, and line all live on the slides instead of generic pictures. And because every number lives in that one place, the whole deck stays editable. I can hit edit, click any headline or value right on the live page, change it, and it saves itself, which means fixing a typo or updating a figure never sends me back to regenerate anything. It even gives me the deck 3 ways, and this part's actually worth knowing. The live link is the full thing, editable with all the movement and animations. The HTML file is the finished deck I can open offline without the internet, but it has no editing controls. And the PDF is just slides for emailing or printing. So the live link is really the main file, and the other two are just versions I can send around. So I went from a rough idea and a folder of images to a finished presentation that's online, editable, and ready to show. But that was the calm, dark, moody one, and the whole point was to prove this works on anything. So now I'll do the same thing on a completely different deck. So now onto the second deck, and even though I'll run the same process, what comes out looks like the complete opposite of the first one. I'll describe the new brand and ask for the design system, same as before. And Claude gives me a warm off-white background, a deep purple for the text, and a bold, chunky font. Just like the last one, nothing gets baked into the images. And this time, the cans stay unbranded because any text printed on curved metal comes out warped anyway. The clever part is that since it's a soda with 4 flavors, I have Claude give each one its own color. So Citrus Punch is orange, Berry Blast is pink, Lime Rush is green, and Grape Wave is purple. So when I'll make the chart showing the flavor mix later, every slice is already the color of its own flavor. And the chart needs no labels or legend at all. You just look and instantly know which flavor is which. So in a couple of minutes, I've locked a completely different look and a color system that makes every chart readable without a single label. But the colors are only half of it because this deck is all glossy 3D product shots, and those need a totally different kind of prompt. And this time, I'll get to skip the hard part that bothered me on the first deck. The style paragraph works the same way, except now it describes a glossy 3D product look, soft studio lighting, shiny reflections, that high-end commercial ad feel. And just like before, it goes on the very end of every prompt. The one thing I'll do differently this time is the space. This time, I name the exact empty side in every prompt left or right, so the frames come out already composed with almost nothing to fix. Everything else is the same. GPT Image 2 set to 16:9, quality on high, resolution at 4K, and every prompt already has the style paragraph on the end, ready to copy and paste. So now the second style is locked, glossy instead of moody, and every frame comes out already set up for the text. Let's generate the title slide first, just to see how this actually comes out. And for me, there's less going on in the picture than with the remain deck, but it still looks pretty solid overall. Because I named the empty side right in the prompt this time, it comes out already composed, with the space for the text exactly where I want it. Then I'll follow the same process for every other slide, pasting each prompt in and generating it. And there's nothing too special about the rest, but I really like how lively it looks with all those different colors. Since they're all carrying that same style paragraph, the whole set comes out consistent, each one with its space ready for the words. So the whole second set of backgrounds is done way faster than the first. And now it's the same final step as the first deck, except this one builds a little differently. But one of these slides isn't staying in image, and the way I'll animate it is nothing like what I did on the first deck. On the first deck, the video was that before and after transformation. This time, it's just the solution slide, the main shot of the can. So I'll head back into the video tab and pick Seedance 2.0 again and upload that finished image as the first frame. I'll keep it to 5 seconds, aspect ratio to 16:9, resolution to 1080p, and turn the audio off. Then in the prompt, I'll just describe the motion, the can staying perfectly still while the orange liquid and fresh citrus circle around it. And all the elements and the colors stay consistent, so there are no major issues to point out. Because it's built from that exact image, it drops onto the slide looking identical whether the video's loaded or not. So now that last slide moves, and every image and video for the second deck is finally done. But before I build it, I still need to make sure everything actually runs the way it should. So all that's left is to let it build, and this is where you really see how the exact same process can end up looking completely different. I'll open Supercomputer again, attach all my POP files including that video, and paste in one prompt telling it to code and deploy, not generate anything. The prompt is almost the same as the first, except for two changes. First, this deck scrolls up and down instead of side to side, so the dots run down the side instead of along the bottom, and every chart uses the flavor colors, so they read instantly without a single label. Then I'll let it run, and it builds and deploys the whole thing exactly like the first deck. A live link, fully editable, delivered the same 3 ways. So now I've got a second finished deck, online and editable, that looks nothing like the first one, built the same way. And with both decks done side by side, there's actually one clear winner, and the reasons why are worth stealing for your own. So both decks came out of the exact same process, but one of them is the one you'd actually want to copy, and it's the Soda one for 4 reasons. It puts every chart inside its own clean panel over the image instead of laying them on the photos where the labels get lost. A bright background is easier to read than a dark one, especially small text and thin chart lines on a phone. Its colors actually mean something since each flavor owns a color, so the charts read with no labels at all, and it scrolls up and down, which matches the way your scroll wheel already moves. The one thing the first deck did better is the most effective trick in the whole process, the match before and after pair, where you generate the first image and feed it back as a reference so the second one lines up exactly, which works for any before and after you'll ever make. So the process is the same either way, and what separates a good deck from a great one comes down to 4 choices: your charts, your background, your colors, and how it feels when scrolling through it. But even with AI, doing all of this the normal way means jumping between a bunch of different tools and platforms. Inside Higgsfield, you have all the tools to put all of it together in just a few minutes while having everything in one place. So sign up to Higgsfield with my link in the description and create your own professional slide deck just by talking to AI. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.